My name is Mallory Terranova, and I am the owner of Jars of Dust. I started Jars of Dust when I was in my undergrad at UNC Wilmington. I was a studio art major, and didn't really have like a concentration at all, but I knew that I just really liked art and I was really good at it, and that was really the only area that I could like consistently make good grades in. And then there was a semester where I needed just a random credit hour, and I found a ceramics class that was open, so I started taking it, and I just really fell in love with it. But it wasn't like the love of like I started and was really good at it. It was actually really challenging and did not really come as naturally to me as other art mediums did, and that was inspiring and super motivating for me. I think I really like thrive under like pressure and like having a challenge presented to me, and that's kind of what began my journey with Jars of Dust. Soon after I started selling some of the pieces that I was making. They were not good, but people were buying them, and I kind of just like accidentally like stumbled into like creating a business out of it, and it has snowballed from there. My relationship with pottery has changed and evolved so much over the years. I think at first it was outlet that I had that I really loved, that like pushed me beyond what I was like naturally able to do on my own, and it put me into a headspace that was just like so quiet and still, and then being able to like create something like literally from nothing to something like substantial and like stone, and something that will last like for generations. So I think it began as like this like kind of like newfound love, and then it evolved into a very practical thing for me of like, this is how I'm gonna make money and pay the bills, and this is gonna be like my full-time job and career, and it kind of like morphed into this like very like hard-edged like box almost. And I think I went through a season of like kind of rejecting that because I wanted to figure out how to keep it my love, but also like how to figure out how to still do it every single day without just having it be like a side thing. And so now I've like really, it's like a constant wrestling with like that, the two dynamic of like, this is a practical thing and how I make money, and this is like a creative thing and an art thing and something that I love that brings me joy. And so my relationship with it now is like a constant balance of like wrestling with the two and protecting it so that I continue to love it and can continue to do it for years to come, but also pushing it and morphing it to be something that provides me and my family with what we need to live. Summit is the coffee shop that I grew up going to. I grew up in Davidson, North Carolina. I went to middle school and high school right down the street, and that was kind of just like the hangout spot for a while. Like it was like the cool kind of like rustic, coffee shop that like we would gather upstairs when it was like not renovated. Like it was not renovated at all, and it was like very kind of like dark and dingy, but like that's why like so many people loved it, I guess. And so it was just kind of like the spot almost. And then I had a English teacher and soccer coach that was played a huge impact on kind of like just me as a kid, and that I saw as almost like a mentor. Tim Helfrich, he became the owner of Summit and kind of transformed it and like built it into like a way better like successful like local business that actually like contributed to like so many different community things. And then the location just like played an even bigger part in my childhood of like, you know, the place that I would like meet friends at and build relationships with, and like I like grew up almost like kind of like in Summit. Like a lot of the big milestones of like me as a kid were like, you know, right there. So I love Summit. I always, every time I go back home to Huntersville or Davidson, I always have to visit. And so, yeah, I don't know, it's just like been like kind of like a location that I haven't really thought much into, but when I actually think about some of the big moments in my life growing up, it was like Summit was kind of like where a lot of things happened. So I've always thought it'd be super cool to collaborate with you guys, and I have so much respect for Tim and Brian, and I've sent them, like, I think over the years, like a couple like logo rendition mugs that I just kind of like used y'all's logo when I was like practicing like how to make logo type of mugs, and like, you know, just a company that I thought would be really cool to like collaborate with one day. So the fact that we're both like kind of coming together and at a stage where it's mutually beneficial is like super awesome. I'm really glad to be like associated with Summit Coffee. So when you guys sent us your kind of lookbook of like brand colors, it's like a super, like for the realm of like pottery, it's like a very fluorescent color, like, which doesn't really exist fully within like the realm of pottery, like especially since we use stoneware and like naturally colored clay that kind of has like a darker like gray to it. It's definitely hard to capture like really bright, vibrant colors with it. Everything kind of like takes on like a more earthy undertone, but it was super fun for us to like really dive into the chemistry of it and like how to make this like really bright and cohesive with y'all's branding and style. We have a lot of plans for expansion right now. We're kind of on the cusp of it. So we purchased a like large commercial warehouse type of building at the end of last year, just a couple blocks over, and we are moving our studio and production over to that space. And it's gonna be like triple, maybe quadruple the size that we have now, working space wise. And so with that, it's going to bring a lot of growing pains and like figuring out in logistics, but we're so excited. It opens like so many doors to different things that we'll be able to finally start doing that I feel like Jars of Dust has really needed to be able to do in terms of like media creation and photography and bringing on more people. And I think it's very important to source from locally small handmade businesses because it directly impacts and correlates with like the well-being of a community. It just allows you to work like one-on-one with people. Like the fact that you guys are like a team of people, and I have learned like exactly what you guys do, and even like the people that you work with and what they do and how they've created this like incredible dynamic business. But then like you can like find another business and then like bring together two teams of people to just create something that like offers an idea deeper than what it actually is. Like the fact that we can create like these mugs together, but like we're talking about like sustainability and how we can like do better for the environment and do better for the community is like such a powerful thing that, you know, we wouldn't be able to really communicate on our own, but the fact that we're coming together with you guys, it like creates this like really beautiful dynamic story that inspires a lot of people. The idea of Jars of Dust, the name of it comes from the idea that the creation of clay, you know, begins as dust or like dirt from the earth, and how that mirrors like the creation of man and how like we come from like the dust of the earth, and then through the pottery process, like there's water and there's molding and there's fire and there's pressing, and then like it becomes like as hard as stone, and that's really beautiful in itself. But then like there's this whole other side of it of like it like will one day return to dust, and how kind of like we have like these two phases of life where like, you know, we began as this like fragile, like humble state, and then you know, through like challenges and hardship, through that and like through passing through fire, like that's how like we become stronger.